Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We watch WWE SmackDown every Friday night and recap it after the bell. My name is John Zendel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
What a different SmackDown this week from last week. Will it be different good or different bad? I guess
Mhm.
we'll find out. John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story from tonight's SmackDown, August 18th, 2023?
I'll tell you what, it's been a while since we've had something like this, but we had a wrestling match in the main event. We
Yep.
had Edge versus Sheamus, and from my count, looks like it went about 25 minutes, actually. Edge versus
9:38 bell. The match finished at 9:57. So there were a lot of entrances. But yeah, 19 minutes. This was the length of a pay-per-view. Do you like
Mhm,
that? Do you like them giving you that much time?
absolutely. Yeah, I like that they had a long, good match here. Edge goes over Sheamus, and not much of a surprise because this was his night. They had all these montages about how great he was for and all these people talking about how great he was, but he made the most of his moment. I really like this match. They had a "This is awesome" chant to start, that's always
Mhm.
good. Um, Great pacing, so the crowd was really into it. So they were really slow. These guys have been around. Well, Edge has been around for 25 years. I've been reminded
Yes.
that several times tonight. So he was. I thought the pacing was really good. And one spot I really liked was the superplex to the DDT. That was really cool. Um,
Yeah, to that, what do they call it? The educator DDT there, execution.
mhm.
It was the
So
execution. I'm getting my puns mixed up. The execution is the DDT. Yeah, that was after the second commercial. This match was long enough. It got two commercial breaks. Uh, You're so right. For the first short stint and then between the first and second commercial breaks, it was all about pacing and building and establishing that, Sheamus actually was going to get booed in this match. At one point he went for the 10 beats of the Bowery, and the crowd loves to count. Except this time, they booed. They booed. Now Edge caught it and intercepted it and stopped it, but
mhm.
like the crowd was booing when they saw he was going to go for it. So they spent a lot of time setting this up, and I think we got a good payoff when they come back from second commercial. There's plenty of time left, and here's where the high spots start. And and that was really the first of them. Edge hitting that top turn superplex, then the execution for a 2.5 count, and that's when another chant starts. Right, you still got it.
Yeah.
You still got it, because there had been some rumors this might be Edge's last match.
Yeah, I saw that floating around like crazy that this is
They mentioned
Edge's.
it at the announce table.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I think it's maybe Michael Cole said, you may have heard the rumors. It's something like, if this is it, whatever. But they tried to hint at it. But yeah, leaving aside, that bit of the rumors, just as a match and a build for it, did you like what went into this match, and did it deliver?
Yeah. I think it was one of the better matches this, I think it was one of the better matches we've seen in the main event of SmackDown because
Yes.
so frequently now we just have bloodline segments in the main event.
Hmm.
And I always preferred the wrestling, but then Bloodline came along. I'm like, wait a second, this Bloodline stuff's great.
Yeah.
So, this is the first time we've had wrestling in a main event in a while, and I like the pacing. I thought it was a good match. You had the right winner. Crowd goes home happy. Kind of felt like a pay per view match.
Right. The pacing, the build, and the fact that it got into a lot of kickouts
Yeah, a
near
lot of
the end.
false
Like
finishes.
you mentioned the one that came off that top turn superplex. That was really the first real surprise kick out where that could have been the end. If you
Hmm.
weren't watching the clock and realizing that we had another 5 or 6 minutes on the telecast, that could have been the end. Sheamus catches Edge, too slow climbing the ropes. Sheamus gets up there, hits the white noise back slam off the Tekken turnbuckle, and then a Celtic cross. He got a 2.5 count there. And then it gets a little testy, which was good. Edge flips off Sheamus, who then gets angry at him and hits the 10 beats of the Bower and more and gets booed. Real good heat from the crowd. I mean, Sheamus is usually babyface, but not in this match.
Right.
And Sheamus, in a way, played into it. And then Sheamus jaws at Edge. Edge slaps him. Edge clotheslines him, goes for the spear, but Sheamus blocks it and hits a brogue kick. 2.5 count. Sheamus goes for another brogue kick, but Edge sidesteps it. And by the way, the crowd was booing as Sheamus stood in the corner, pounding his chest, where they would usually start cheering and counting along. No, not now, booing.
Mm-hmm.
Edge with the roll up for a 2 count, hits a spear, gets a 2.5 count. And then finally, Edge hits another spear, drapes the arm across for the cover and the pinfall. And then post-match, a lot of tears, a lot of cheers. And the last visual you get is Edge and Sheamus hugging.
Yeah.
So this was, you hear wrestling guys say how tough it is to build a match with two baby faces.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't work. They don't have heat with each other.
Mm-hmm.
This match, these guys on very short notice built heat with each other through the match. And then at the end, when it was all over, there was that real respect. I mean, it started with a handshake, and post-match, it ends with a hug. So
I'll tell you what.
Kudos to both of them. What do you think of their performance, ring psychology?
I'll tell you what. Yeah, it is tough to build a match with two baby faces like that. But Sheamus has worked heel plenty in his career, and he just kind of moseyed on into like kind of working heel, right? So he's at times can be a guy that's pretty easy to boo, especially when Edge is in his hometown, or his supposed. Is it his hometown, or they just like him in Toronto?
They like him anywhere in Canada, really.
Yeah, he's just
Canada's like just one big town, right? I mean, that's what I've read. I'm just telling you what I've heard. It's just one enormous snow-covered town.
Right.
If you're not from a town in Canada or a city, you're just from Canada.
You're from Canada. At least
That's it.
That's how us people in the States view it, at least.
Of course.
Yeah, so anything
How about
else?
Edge as a babyface? You've watched WWE longer than I have. All these videos they kept doing throughout the show where everybody's just gushing about how great Edge is. This guy worked heel most of his career. Are they kind of papering over that? And it's like, oh, the beloved Edge. For most of his career, he was not beloved.
No. It's sort of funny that you mentioned that too, because it was a little cringe at times. Or how the people were like, "Oh, he's so amazing, he's so great." And then they go to the next baby face. "Oh, he's amazing, he's so great." I'm like, how many times do we have to just tell a baby face to say the nicest thing possible?
Sure.
But yeah, so I think we're good to go here for the lead, Dom. Anything else you wanted to talk about?
It's the rare one-off thing that works. This was not part of a long storyline and a long build.
Right.
But they did a great build 1 week prior. And then, if you deliver a great match, you don't need the long-term build. Sometimes you can just appreciate two veterans who know how to wrestle a great match.
Two veterans. Edge has been way over since he's came back. He's always been over since he's come back. In addition to that, both can talk on the mic. So pretty easy to put a program together when they can both talk on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dom. So that's our lead. Let's hit our next segment here, where we talk.
And this was not the only good match of the night, was it? Where do you want to go next here to start off the follow?
Well, yeah, this was certainly not the only good match of the night. Maybe what we could do is, how about LA Knight versus Austin Theory? What did you think of this one, Dom? We had Austin Theory winning dirty over LA Knight.
Yes, there was so many people got on camera building up to this match. The show begins with the Grayson Waller effect, and I'm going, oh my goodness, really? Then Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio come out, and Grayson is good. He's trying to create tension between the two of them, and the two of them are pushing back on him. But it's starting to get old, and then Austin Theory comes out, and Austin Theory kind of rescued himself a little here. This was a good bit of heel promo work for Austin Theory, but it seems like it's going nowhere. And he calls out Adam Pearce, and it's like, oh, for crying out loud. This can't be how they're starting SmackDown, can it? And then the music. LA Knight, and he's full on babyface now. And we'll get into that a little more as this program goes on. But he comes out and they make a match for a number one contender role for the U.S. Championship. It's going to be LA Knight versus Austin Theory, and we come back. They get 11 minutes here.
Yeah.
This was a good match. Now, you mentioned Austin Theory wins a little dirty here. What did you see here? Because someone else had to come out too. The Miz. What
And
did
the
the
Miz,
Miz bring to this, or did you think he took away from the match? What do you think?
I get why he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of had the match based around the Miz. I'm okay with it because it'll have a program with the Miz and LA Knight, which should be good because
Mm-hmm.
LA Knight's fantastic on the mic and the Miz can hold his own on the mic.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with him being out there. And I liked the match, and I liked the part when uh, he threw Austin Theory into the Miz.
Yes.
Yes, he just tossed him and then threw him into the Miz. And of course, Miz is pretty good in that spot as a heel on the mic with the other announcers. Unlike Austin Theory, who was in detention one time, and they just made him sit next to them without the headset, and then they made him drop the belt. So
This was a three-man booth to begin with. The Miz comes out. Now it's four guys on the announce booth. It's like,
poor
oh
guys,
my goodness, this is going to be a disaster unless everybody just shuts up and lets the Miz talk. And
right?
that's what it turned into. The Miz, he's really good. I mean, he's running down LA Knight. At one point, he yells at him, "You're a human," catchphrase. Which is really good. Now he does wind up playing a role at the end. I mean, he jumps up on the apron to interfere and prevent LA Knight's jumping elbow that he does after pointing to the crowd for the LA Knight. LA Knight chases the Miz around the ring. The Miz gets in the ring. They battle there. LA Knight hits him with a vicious clothesline, then dumps him over the top rope. And that's when Austin Theory sneaks in for a roll up, grabs the tight for a pinfall. 11 minutes. Neat match. Uh, Good that they had Austin Theory win again in heel fashion. LA Knight gave a good showing, and you're right. This really propels the LA Knight versus Miz program. Now, the only part about that I don't like is they may do it all on Raw.
Right, right,
I
right, right.
wanted it to be on SmackDown. This was a good match, though. Considering what we've been getting lately, it's a better than good match. It was a great opening segment. I mean, this could have been a mess with how many moving parts they included, but I think everything worked.
This
It
is
was
the second time.
8:30 by the time this ended.
This is the second time I've seen Austin Theory and liked what he was doing. So he must have just had like a really rough start with us here on SmackDown. I liked his work in the ring. He was really smooth.
Mhm.
So this is the second time though. I mean,
He
the ring.
sells well. My
Yeah,
goodness, does he sells well? I mean, LA Knight hit a neck breaker on him one time coming right out of the first commercial break, and Austin Theory just folded up like a napkin.
yeah, yeah.
This guy bumps and sells.
And I'll tell you what, for you know, we were kind of we've been kind of dogging him, and he's been struggling. But to see him not have to really talk too much and then wrestle, yeah, I like it. So cool.
I like it too, and we've been we've been talking about when does LA Knight finally get some sort of push? There was let's see here. Can I bring this up? I've got
Sure, let's do it.
I think this is it. Let's see. Yeah. Daily Mail Online had a great article about LA Knight, and in it he addresses, the the hesitancy to push him.
Mhm.
First of all, shout out to the Daily Mail. They have a lot of great photography in this article. If you go there, tons of great pictures. LA Knight all over the place, other guys who are involved. I want to just read the money quote here. It's LA Knight saying, I can understand you want to make some plans in advance. And then when something like this happens, meaning him organically getting over, it's like, well, do I upend everything and change everything? Is this real? Is this going to last? So, in a way, I get the trepidation. At the same time, there is a point, and maybe we've reached that, where you see and hear and understand what's happening and realize, all right, there's got to be a change of plans here. And we've talked about, is the WWE pacing this correctly? Like, because LA Knight's right, and this is the best part about him being a veteran. Like, part of the rumor was that LA Knight's too old to get a push at this point, but on the other hand, he's a seasoned veteran who's done the Indies, he's done other mid-level promotions, so he's not going to whine and complain about the pacing here. He understands that he can't just come in, get over, and they put a belt on him. This is
Right.
the WWE. This is not some indie circuit.
Mm.
So it's great to hear that he understands what goes into building a brand and a huge program, and he's right. Maybe this is the point now where LA Knight, you see him there, the Money in the Bank promo. Maybe they're going to start things here, and he is being treated as a babyface now. There's Triple H, who of course is involved in this, and we as fans want to see LA Knight push, but I've admitted, and I think you've admitted, well, it's a tough job to know when a guy is over for real and when he's not, especially when it's unexpected.
Mhm.
And I think it's been played properly, even though it's been played slower than fans want. Because you'd rather make the fans like chomp at the bit for it than give it to them too soon and the balloon pops.
Yeah. I mean, at first I was just scared when he was working with Bray Wyatt, and then that went so
Ah,
far south, and I was like, "Dude, are they gonna, like, write this guy off and be like, oh, well, he sucks. Remember what he did with Bray Wyatt? He couldn't even get anything going,' and that was like
they
that
mentioned
felt
in
like
this article that what a skill it was. LA Knight was glad to be in that program and to have to get himself over while getting the program over.
yeah, the
And
program
again,
was
that's
horrible.
another thing maybe a younger guy couldn't have handled. So for all the talk about him being too old at 40, A, he's not too old at 40. And B, it's a doggone thing that he's not a green new performer to the business.
Yeah, and also, f the US champion's 48, so he's actually young, I think,
Yeah, right?
compared to the rest of the Rock. I mean, you figure you had Sheamus, you had the Edge tonight. How old are they, right? Like, they
Edge
gotta
is
be.
almost 50, or he is 50.
Yeah,
And that was a darn good main event. If guys are in shape like Edge is, like Sheamus is, like Rey Mysterio is, especially with the WWE schedule being a lot less grueling than it used to be. They don't
yeah,
nobody works 300 dates a year anymore. You might work 3 days a week. The
yep,
WWE is getting into a good pattern where they work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They get the middle of the week off. So they do SmackDown, maybe 2 house shows, or Raw.
and I'll tell you what too, look, so you have Edge is 50. I just looked up Sheamus is 45. Rey Mysterio is 48. So LA Knight's only 40. So he's like a young man in that like circle there.
He's a youngin'.
Yeah, right. But interesting stuff with the LA Knight. I'm glad you brought that up, Dom. Uh
Mhm.
anything else you want to talk about for LA Knight versus Austin Theory? Can we move on to the next match here?
No, this was a good match. It served its purposes. And it means that at least Austin Theory's not buried either, because we were wondering what happens to Austin Theory. It looks like he was really in the doghouse.
Yep.
But for now, it looks like he's going to get another shot at the belt. Um, he got another shot on the mic tonight, and I think he gave a better showing of himself than where he had been trending. So good for everybody involved in this program. It still has legs. Good for everybody in this program except maybe Grayson Waller.
Right.
Poor guy,
Oh, poor Grayson. All right,
and
so
he's talented too. So where else do you want to go here?
um I would say, if we want to go to the next match of the on the card here, Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair
Mm-hmm.
versus Io Sky and Bailey.
Yep.
Damage Control. Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair go over. They pin Bailey in a pretty long tag team match and
14 minutes.
14 minutes. Yeah. So another match. This has been really unique because we saw a lot of squashes and promos like the
Mhm,
last week, and we're getting real matches on TV. So,
mhm.
Dom, what did you think of this one?
Really good to see Bailey moving around well on her
Hmm.
right leg. She was taking a lot of punishment early, and this was the first note I wrote down for the match. Bailey started the match, and I wrote Bailey taking lots of punishment early, but her right leg seems to be okay, and I like that. And not only taking punishment, but they go to commercial with Charlotte Flair. Is that a moonsault she does onto both Io Sky and Bailey on the floor?
Hmm.
Uh, you got to be healthy to take that move.
For sure.
Did you have to catch your opponent coming off, the top ropes onto the floor? That's a lot of impact. You've got to have your base underneath you to take that. And yes, she was getting some help from Io Sky because both of them took the match, but that's not the kind of match you would do if you were really concerned that someone still had a leg injury.
Hmm.
You wouldn't ask them to catch someone coming on a moonsault to the floor. You
So
wouldn't ask them to catch a dive.
I've
Mhm.
said this before, and I'll say it again. I really like this team of Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair.
Yeah.
They're way over when they both come out together. They have that little. They already have the built-in like kind of looking at each other like they don't trust each other,
Yeah, a
but
little
and
side eye going on.
but they're both really good.
Yep.
Both are very athletic. I'm
Yes.
really Bianca Belair when she's in there, she just does the move so smooth. You're just like she's strong enough to get the when she does her finisher, get the girl on her shoulder and then pop over. I don't know what that is, but she has no problem doing it.
Guess if that's how they actually finished the match.
Hmm.
It's Bailey in the ring because they're protecting Io Sky. So Io Sky is not involved in the finish. She was beaten down and knocked off the apron to the floor, and then it was a double team there. Basically, Bailey went for a figure four. Charlotte fights out of the attempt, tags in Bianca. A little double team there, ending with a kiss of death on Bailey for the pin. This hovered over the break in the hour. Bell time started at 8:50 here in New Jersey on the East Coast. Match ends at 9:04. So if you tuned in at they try to make the top of the hour a big deal, 9 o'clock. You tuned in to a match in progress here, and you got a really good looking finish. Um, what did you think about everybody involved in this match and how they played it out? Because I thought it ran the risk of making Io Sky look like not much of a champion because they're heels. They lost the match now.
Hmm.
Io Sky early on did not get much of a build up and was not cast in the best light. There was one obvious botch in this match, and I
Yeah.
don't know if it was just a miscommunication or just a forgetfulness, but and it was a botch. Like Io Sky's a tag team wrestler for a long time. They were tag team champs, her and Dakota Kai. So they did have that one botch where Io or someone was supposed to stop a hot tag from Charlotte to Bianca. And they didn't really do it. So Charlotte just like almost got there and just collapsed
She
and then
just
kind
lay
of
there.
peered over her shoulder, like, huh? And then just laid there, not even just reaching her hand halfway up for the tag. And then finally, Io Sky got over and broke it up. And then they got the hot tag later. But
They
that was
all can't
clearly a
be
botch.
they all can't be five-star American classics. You're gonna have that happen
No,
from time to time. She made an adjustment on the fly to like not tag her in.
no.
So it's a little bit of improv. But it was a botch. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I see what you're saying with Io Sky and not making her look super strong because she's losing. But Bailey
Mhm.
takes the pin, so it wasn't Io Sky.
Bailey did a lot of work in there. They made a Shotzi reference on the announce desk, but we didn't see Shotzi. Where is that program? They gave us a build for it. Then Bailey was hurt. And then they seem to have just dropped it because later on, like right after this match backstage, Damage Control attacks Bianca Belair. So have they forgotten Shotzi?
Yeah, why wouldn't Shotzi be there for the save? This poor girl shaved her head for no reason. you know. So and they completely dropped it, and they haven't mentioned it again. So it's like I haven't seen Shotzi on TV. She's just walking around with a buzz head now, What'd you say?
Yeah,
When they by the time we see her, she's gonna have her hair back.
right. That's how long it took.
Yeah, that's how long this build's been.
Do you like that attack on Bianca Belair right after this match backstage? All three of them.
Um, yeah, I'm okay with it, I guess. I'm not always like huge on the backstage stuff. Like I'd
Mhm.
almost rather see it out in the ring, but
Sure.
it kind of makes sense. I mean, maybe Belair needs some time off or something. I don't know.
It looks like they're trying to reestablish Damage Control as kind of running the women's division on SmackDown. We've officially gotten to the point where the WWE draft does not matter anymore. It took them like 3 months, right?
Yes,
3 months, the draft doesn't matter. Bailey, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai are back on SmackDown. It looks like LA Knight's going to Raw, at least for the Miz program. Two big programs and ascending programs,
yeah.
and
I hope they don't
they're going
move.
wherever the brands go.
If they move LA Knight off SmackDown, that's going to be killer because
It's not going to be fun for us.
going to suck. That means we lose Gunter and LA Knight. We're going to be
Yeah, my goodness. We've already
Bloodline
lost.
and Top
We
Dollar.
lost most everybody that we gave B's to when we graded this out at the end of last year.
Everybody that was good moved over to Raw.
Gunter, Liv,
Even Wade Barrett, the announcer.
even Wade Barrett, but like we lost Damage Control, we lost Ricochet, we lost Liv Morgan, we lost Gunther. If we lose LA United, it's like, oh my goodness, all the people that we were really impressed with what they did. Yeah, but hey, we've got other people that are really impressive on SmackDown, like Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. You said you liked the tag team. Do you see legs for that, or is this just kind of a novelty thing?
It feels like if I was Vince McMahon and Triple H, I don't know, whoever's booking, I don't know. It feels like those tag titles could be quite legitimate with those two holding it. And
Yes.
that way you don't have them constantly just chasing the title. And maybe you have like a program with somehow down the road Bailey and Io. Like that might be a program, or they've got plenty of women in the division.
It would open up some breathing room for Io Sky to kind of establish yourself as a formidable champion, a title holder.
Yeah.
Because Money in the Bank, cashing in Money in the Bank on a fallen opponent for your first singles title win, that always feels like okay, does this person really deserve it?
Yes.
Does she need a build?
Um, right. Yeah, you'd like to see her build into like and start winning some matches. So you're like, oh yeah, she is the champ. Not like
Yes.
she's or she could just. I mean, she could do the chicken s stuff, but that's what you can do as a heel. You have that dynamic where you could just run away all the time and like not
Cough, Austin Theory, cough.
right. Um. All right, Dom. I think we're good on that match here. So one more match to talk about: the Street Profits versus OC,
Mm-hmm.
and the Street Profits come out, and you could see their looks changed a little bit now that they're with
Yes.
Bobby Lashley. Kind of weird. They still have the red cups. I was hoping they would have little glasses of champagne instead, but I guess they still like to throw the red cups around.
Yeah.
Um,
Perhaps it's big with the merch table.
yeah, and we
You
see
know.
the Street Profits win in a pretty short match. It wasn't a squash; it was a real match. But
Mm-hmm.
the Street Profits knock off.
About 3 minutes.
Yeah, they knock off the OC. What did you think of this one?
I usually don't like short matches and squash matches because I always ask, who does this help? I
Mhm,
ask that about every segment, and that short matches are usually they don't help anybody.
mhm.
This match helped Street Profits. It's the first time we've seen them with their new ring attire. It's less casual, like you said, um, and a new attitude in the ring. They're more intense. They're not dancing around and hamming it up with the crowd every time they hit a high spot.
Yeah,
Um, More intense, really more intense. Like you can see it on Montez Ford's face. You can really see it in Angelo Dawkins, just his demeanor in the ring. Um, Montez Ford at one point really runs into a clothesline on Luke Gallows, sends him over the top rope, then dives on him to basically take him out, runs back in the ring. That takes us to the closing sequence now. Double team move on Carl Anderson, sit out powerbomb neck breaker, which might be a little overkill. It looks kind of awkward,
Mm-hmm.
but if they get the timing down with it, it could be a real good thing. And that's the pinfall post match. They, as heels, or at least try to play up as heels, they exit the ring first, walk back up the ramp, and that allows Bobby Lashley to come out and celebrate with them. So if you ask
Bobby
me, a
Lashley
3-minute
got a
match,
big pop.
he did. He did, right.
Yeah, everybody likes Bobby Lashley. He's always been solid top card guy. You know.
And if he's going to be booked as a cool guy,
Yeah, right.
as a real alpha dog.
Yeah, he's out there in the suit, looks like $1,000,000. He's like busting through it because he's so huge. But
Right.
yeah, so I thought that was a cool moment. I thought this, like you said, I would have to agree with you. A squash match is usually sometimes you're like, okay, after like a second or third squash match, you're like of somebody doing it, you're like, okay, we get it, he's strong. But this did I
This helps them, right?
this actually helps them, and maybe the OC, if they get a little bit more time, they could be a pretty good mid card tag team. They have
Mhm.
been for years, so it's good to have like reliable workers in there to get squashed, not just like jobbers.
And they were reliable workers in this match. Like you said, it wasn't really a squash. They got some offense in. It was fast paced. It was hard hitting.
Mhm.
This wasn't a throwaway for the OC, even though somebody had to go out there and take the pinfall here. And with everything else going on in this program, they just couldn't have a lot of time.
Yep, and let's keep the ball moving here, Dom. So that's
Yep.
all the matches of the night. Anything else you wanted to mention about
Do you like the
SmackDown?
backstage interview with Paul Heyman, where he's very evasive? Then he gets
Mm.
a phone call and says Jimmy Uso will be on SmackDown next week.
He's really weird. It was a really weird promo, and
Yeah, right.
seems like he's
Totally
trying.
evasive.
Yeah, he's like talking about her mom and her dad and all this weird stuff, and he
Oh,
seems like
rumors? Rumors? You heard a rumor. You heard a rumor. I heard a rumor that birds are fake. They're drones. That's not what he said, but you could see that being thrown in there. But yeah, a rumor? You heard a rumor? Um, so it was Paul Heyman in all of his Paul Heymanness. One thing I liked, he did run down LA Knight.
yeah.
LA Knight's over as a babyface. When Paul Heyman is in full heel mode, running you down for no reason in a promo that has nothing to do with you, you are over. And the crowd gave him, Paul Heyman went, oh, Knight, and you can hear on the TV the crowd behind them, yeah.
Hey, maybe that's setting up the program. LA Knight versus Roman. Oh my god.
Everybody is jumping on the LA Knight bandwagon to try and like attach themselves. He is ascending and people are jumping on board. Now, some people like Paul Heyman, they're also helping the push by doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's great to see. So Paul Heyman does his Paul Heyman thing. Jimmy Uso will be here next week. I wonder what kind of a selling point that is for next week's show. He didn't say Roman Reigns will be here next week. He didn't say
Yeah.
Jey Uso will be here. He just said Jimmy Uso is going to be there. No, not the Usos together, not Roman, just Jimmy Uso. So we'll see what kind of cachet that brings with it when we get to next week. But okay, promo. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. It served the purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But
We
but
got
it was wonderful to see that like that's basically all the bloodline we needed on this show was Paul Heyman doing one evasive short interview.
yeah.
Like we didn't need the bloodline tonight, did we?
No, no, I think it was enough, and we had a bunch of real wrestling, which was great. Which is going to take us to our next segment here,
Sounds like
Dom.
it's drive time. We're hinting at it.
Yes,
Thumb drive.
it's
Do you
drive
want to go
time.
simultaneous or do you want to do alternating here?
We'll do alternating, and you know what? I went first last week, so how about you go first this week?
Thumbs up. I
Yeah.
like
Okay.
this show. I mean, and it's not like I'm just going to say, well, we got some wrestling this week. we got storyline build this week. We got things that matter to long-term programs.
Hmm.
But we also got great work in the ring. I like this. I mean, the main event was a great match. There were two other matches that on any other SmackDown could have been match of the night. That was
Hmm.
the LA Knight versus Austin Theory and the women's tag match, Bayley and Io Sky versus Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair. Those could have been match of the night on any other SmackDown that we've seen very recently. And yet
Yeah.
they were kind of like runners up to the main event here. And even the 1 3 minute match was not a bad match, and it did something for the people involved. So everything, the storylines did not get cast aside here, but we got good wrestling. This is how a great 2 hour wrestling program should be. Is it not?
Yeah. So, well, that leads right into me then. So, as far as the thumb drive is concerned, thumbs up.
Here we
We have
go.
2 thumbs up this week. I agree with all of your assessment, and you pretty much stole what I was going to say anyway.
Sorry, go for it. Reiterate it in your own words.
You took most of what I was going to say, but I'll just repeat it anyway. Who cares? Okay, so we had long, good wrestling matches on TV, and it
Mm-hmm.
just feels like they sometimes abandon. This is a wrestling show, and they overthink it, and they put all these different like backstage things and promos, and like, or they throw too many matches, and they're all squashes, and then you're
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, it got like back to back squash. Like sometimes they do that. This
Mm-hmm.
was 3 matches, like you said, could have been match of the night on any other SmackDown. The main was awesome. The other two were good, and even the squash was good. So
Mm-hmm.
thumbs up. Good job, Vince. Good job, Triple H. Y'all did it this week.
Storytelling is important, but you can tell a story in the ring.
Absolutely. And that's going to take us to our next segment here. So we're going to jump into
It's cheap heat time, isn't it?
cheap heat. What we do is we'll kind of look at some trending topics, some articles, and we'll discuss those to get some cheap heat from the YouTube algorithm because we're talking about trending topics.
And
So,
also because, hey, we're only able to watch one show a week, SmackDown, but the pro wrestling world is hot right now, and it's bigger than just one company and one show. So I like this. It's a lot of fun to kind of talk about other news items that sometimes take us beyond SmackDown. You have anything you want to lead off with here?
no, but you had a couple we were talking about backstage that I really liked. If you want to kind of jump into what you wanted to show.
I had a couple here. Let's bring one up here. It's going to be from Impulsive, Logan Paul's podcast.
Hey,
He
Dom, I
in it
can't see your
just kind
screen.
of tease. I'm going to get the screen up now. Let's see if
Yeah.
I can get it. That is not the right screen. Where am I? Where am I?
Hang tight, folks.
There we go.
There.
There we go.
Okay, perfect.
Impulsive. It's a long episode. I just want to mention one little thing he had in there. Um, he teases a Dominic Mysterio and Logan Paul. Could they be a tag team? Now, does that mean Logan Paul has to join Judgment Day? Because Judgment Day is hot right now. And they're on the ascension. They are moving up. But would that be a cool tag team? I mean, all else aside, Logan Paul and Dominic Mysterio, two great heels, right?
Hmm. One is a heel in real life, and nobody likes him, so he gets booed, and that's Logan Paul, who's just
Mm-hmm.
unlikable, which is perfect. Yeah, hey, he's a heel because he's really a POS. But then you have Dominic Mysterio, who his character is a great heel. He's like yelling about his dad, and like he's like hugging Rhea Ripley all the time and calling her mommy, and we don't like that about him. So, yeah, ultimately here, Dom, I'll tell you what.
They were getting into this. And Logan Paul was animated. You could see some of his the reactions here. This is the segment where they were talking about it. We don't have the sound on, obviously. Please go to Impulsive if you want to hear this interview and anything that was in it. But these guys were into it.
Yeah. So, I think that would be a good tag team. I got no problem with it.
And they're both real good heels, but it would involve a big commitment from Logan Paul, wouldn't it? Because Dominic Mysterio is so good, he's so hot right now. All of Judgment Day is, and they work every Raw, every pay
Yeah.
per view. Like it's not a part time thing. But I get what Logan was saying, that wouldn't it be great if two great heels got together, especially since they're athletic. Um, that would be neat, but that would take more of a commitment from Logan Paul in order to make that a reality. And I don't know that I'd want to break up the Judgment Day, just have these guys have a one off on a pay per view and then go away.
Yeah. I hear you. And what else you got for cheap heat, Dom?
Lacey Evans, her contract expired. They could not reach a new deal, so Lacey Evans is done with the WWE. Is this a case of she has talent, she has a look, she has the athletic ability? It just seemed like they couldn't get either a good program for her, or maybe there was something with her personally, but it just didn't work, did it? And you know more about her than I do. You've seen her a lot longer than I have.
So, Lacey Evans, I know a lot of people are going to do what they always do. They're going to blame creative. They're going to blame the WWE. Excuse me. They're going to
Bless you,
blame the
sir.
They're going to blame the WWE. But at the end of the day, Lacey Evans, what she just wasn't over, and she came out. Vince saw her so highly of her that they didn't even put her on NXT. They booted her right to the main roster because he thought she was a big star, and
Okay.
all the girls from in WWE can wrestle now. So when
Mm,
she came up, she really wasn't so good because she didn't. She should have been down in NXT a lot longer than she was.
okay.
She had a program, and it was like with Baron Corbin and her, and God, I think it was like some mixed tag match, and it was so bad, like that pairing between the two of them. And then, so she was like a Southern Belle, and it wasn't working. And then she switched to the heel Marine, like Sergeant Slaughter. But I was like, she should be a face if she's going to be in the military, right? So,
They tried that this year,
mm,
repackaging her as a babyface, but it never caught on.
no.
And then she came back with the Sergeant Slaughter type gimmick, and
Hmm.
even using the Cobra Clutch,
Yeah.
which apparently rubbed some people the wrong way. So yeah, this it just didn't work. I mean, they tried a bunch of stuff with her. She's a great athlete. If she's still young enough and wants to do this, thankfully when we're in the age where there's more wrestling promotions to go around, and maybe she'll catch on somewhere else. And
I actually saw that she's opening up a coffee shop or something.
okay,
Yeah, so I don't know if she's like made some good money in WWE. She probably did. She probably made pretty good money and has some saved and is like, I'm gonna try something different here.
all right, that's interesting. Wow,
Yeah.
a little something outside of wrestling for her. Well. Let's segue there if you want. We'll go
Hmm.
from women's wrestling and perhaps another promotion and coffee houses. Billy Corgan bought the NWA. He also opened up a tea house over in Chicago, where he's from. So yeah, from coffee house to tea house. And women's wrestling in the NWA is hot. They're getting into NWA 75th anniversary show, which is a 2-day pay-per-view, the last weekend of August. Camille, their women's champion, just surpassed 800 days, and her catchphrase is that she's the one-time champ because nobody's going to be able to take it from her. And so far, that's been it. She's a legitimately good college athlete in her day. Moved into pro wrestling. Was paired with Nick Aldis for a while. Um, there is some great women's wrestling going on in AEW and in the still standing and still going, and perhaps on the ascension again, National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA.
Is
Um,
Billy Corgan still a part of that or
he is still owning it, running it, booking it.
Wow.
touring and talking about it. In fact, he gave 2 interviews, one on Sports Guy Talking Wrestling this week, and another one with Chris Van Vliet,
Hmm.
um, where he was talking up NWA 75. And big news in each one, Tyrus, who WWE fans may remember as Brodus Clay. What was it, like the Funkasaurus for a while? He's a former Slammy Award winner as best dancer in the WWE.
Yeah.
So Tyrus, real big guy, almost a 400-pounder, 6'7", former bodyguard to Snoop Dogg. So
Of course.
he's been an actor, and he's been in wrestling for a while, but he's another one of these guys who has other things he can do outside of wrestling. He seems to have been on a good NWA run. He's their champion currently, but he's up there in age. He's 50 years old as well. We talked about Edge being 50. He's 50 years old. He's got a big match coming up against EC3 at NWA 75. And the rumor is, could this be Tyrus's last match if he loses? Um, because they're basically saying, look, this guy, for as talented as he is, there's really not a lot for him to prove at age 50 in wrestling. So could that be part of the draw for NWA 75? What do you remember about Tyrus, either as Tyrus or as Brodus Clay in the WWE?
Full transparency, nothing. Wasn't watching then. Uh,
Okay.
so
I remember
I don't
nothing
know.
about him as Brodus Clay either.
I know he's a guy that was there, and I remember he did like a shoot interview and talked about how John Cena helped him because uh, they were going to cut his segment, and it was only supposed to be like a couple minutes for
Okay.
WrestleMania. And Cena said, "You know what? Why don't let him do his segment because I have to go to the bathroom, and then we can cut ours a little short." And that's what he told Vince. So they went to do the segment, but he didn't have to go to the bathroom. He just wanted him to get his WrestleMania moment.
Well,
So
that's a good story to hear. I like that. I
yeah,
like
no,
hearing that about Cena and that he was looking out for a guy that he saw something in. Yeah, Tyrus, he's obviously not going to put on one of those high flying matches. I mean, not just for his age, but he's 6'7". He's nearly 400 pounds. He's a
mm,
power wrestler. He's not going to fool you with aerial stunts. He's a big power wrestler. He's apparently had a pretty good NWA run. There was some controversy. Billy Corgan at one point was talking about people not liking Tyrus because Tyrus has a life outside of wrestling, and they didn't think he should be the NWA champion. And Billy Corgan said something that was an unfortunate way he phrased it. It was in a long conversation. And of course, the quote that got snipped was, "If you don't like Tyrus as champion, then you're not a wrestling fan," or something like that. And what he was saying is if you're not watching the NWA because you don't like that Tyrus has a personal story and a career outside of wrestling, then you're not really a wrestling fan. Like if that's enough for you to turn off a wrestling program where a guy's performing pretty well, then hey, maybe you're not really into wrestling. But
right.
Tyrus, what do you think about NWA 75? It's been around 75 years. Have you gotten into the NWA since Billy Corgan has bought it?
The only time I've really watched the NWA is when they had Power Hour on YouTube. Do you remember that?
I do. That was taken off in late 2019, early 2020, right before the pandemic.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, and I watched some of it, but I didn't really get too deep into it. I know people that were Fran, I think, really liked it and watched it.
We have some wrestling friends who watched it as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis. When Cody left the WWE, the first real major program he was in here in the United States was Chasing the 10 Pounds of Gold. And there was a lot of Billy Corgan in that. His his eye for artistry and performance and making all those videos really promoting the 10 pounds of gold, the big gold belt, the NWA world title, and that big program with him. So the NWA belt has um when it involves people who are willing to commit to a program to it, it's been a great thing, even though we don't hear about it much the last 20, 25 years.
Mm.
It's been for a while. It was in WCW before WCW split off with their own series of belts. For a while, TNA was running NWA belts until TNA split off with their own belts. Adam Pearce, current GM for WWE, is a former 5-time NWA World heavyweight champion. And by the way, Adam Pearce looks like he can still go. And he's not that old either. He's not too old to kick some people's rear ends around there. So, hey, if you're watching us on the live stream here, Twitch, over on X/Twitter or Facebook, or if you're watching this on YouTube or anytime later on, tell us in the comments, tell us in the chat, what do you know about the NWA? We don't cover the NWA a lot here on Don't Bury the Lead. What do you know about the NWA? Is this a big deal? Are you excited at all for any of their programming, especially with their biggest program of the year coming up in about another week and a day?
Yeah, we have some people on Twitch too. You're on, so feel free to chat us here and let us know.
And shout out to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling here. This is another kind of um, very young YouTube channel. It seems he's only got 209 subscribers, but he got almost 500 views for the interview he did with Billy Corgan. So yeah, great to
Oh.
see Billy Corgan. You know, he goes on Chris Van Fleet with his 362,000 subscribers, but he also gives time to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Mhm.
You know, he'll give good answers and a good conversation to anybody. So hey, maybe Sports Guys Talking Wrestling can get a few more views and subscribers off of this. And Chris Van Vliet, he does good work. We've mentioned him before here. Great work elsewhere in the wrestling podcasting world. And if you want to see these full interviews, of course, go search for them. You'll see it for yourself. Just don't take my word for it. What do you say, John?
I would say on our home base, YouTube. Um, Anything else you wanted to bring up for Cheap Heat here, Dom?
Nothing other than, hey, subscribe to our stuff and tell us if you like some of the directions we go on in Cheap Heat here.
Yeah, for sure.
We're trying not to just cover WWE because the wrestling world's bigger than that. And there is more noteworthy news that comes from outside of just the program that we watch and recap. So what kind of things would you guys like to see in Cheap Heat here? You know, what kind of promotions do you want us to look at? Any stories that you're interested in? Have you been interested in what we've done so far? We call it Cheap Heat because that's a cute little wrestling name, but it's really not cheap. It's stuff that I'm interested in. You seem to be interested in it also, John, and seeing the views we get from the edited clips that John, you produce off of our segments. People like our Cheap Heat segments. So yeah, we'll keep doing them. And hey, subscribe to us on your favorite platform, especially YouTube. We passed 100 subscribers recently. We're aiming for our next benchmark there. Every little bit helps.
Yeah. We're
Yeah,
up to
support the channel as best you can. Thank you.
Dom, we're up to 116 subscribers. So
116. That's a
that's
good
right.
number. I like that.
Yeah, 116. We're trying to get to 117, folks. So if you're out there and you're watching, hit subscribe.
We're like auctioneers at the time. We've got 116. Do we have 117? Anybody want to hit that button and be 117? 117, we've got 117. Do we have 118? Do we have 118 subscribers out there right now? It can be you. 118. Do we have 119?
That's exactly it. That's us right now, pushing for them subs. But we're our next goal here is 200. We're gonna wear glasses that say 200 when we pass that benchmark. And just recently the channel's been doing better than it's ever have the last couple of weeks here. On average, I can create a video and it gets 100 views or more, somewhere between 100 and 300, and they're continuing to get views. So to see us kind of grow from getting like 1 view, 3 views when we first started to start to get like actual people watching our content, it's really exciting. So thanks to everyone. That means a lot to us. So
The viewers are getting better, and frankly, we're getting better too. We have a better formatted show now than we did when we started. We've got our legs under. We're still rookies. This is still, we haven't passed a year yet of doing Don't Bury the Lead. That'll be at the end of September. So we
yeah.
still got a ways to go. This is still month 10
Mhm.
or month 11 of us doing this.
Yeah.
So, we're trying to get better. What do you like about our programming? Tell us in the chat and in the comments. What do you wish we wouldn't do so often? Tell us. We're open to feedback. We're open to making tweaks here and there. Lord knows we've made enough of ourselves doing that here, but thanks much. It's a good ride so far. We are ascending as well, just like the LA Knight program, just like the Bloodline. just like maybe the return of Damage Control. We are pointed upwards, aren't we?
Absolutely. All right, Dom. I think on that note, as we talk about how great we are, I'm going to just go ahead and say thanks for everyone that's watching here. We see some people out here on Twitch. Check us out on YouTube. That's where all of our other content is. But we appreciate you hanging in there for
Mhm.
the show tonight. Always kind of like, subscribe wherever you can. We're on YouTube. That's what we're really growing out. We'll have videos coming out. We're going to keep pumping out the shorts, and we'll have a video coming out this week, kind of based off of what we watched today. So, thank you all so much for your time. Dom, I appreciate you doing this as always, and have a great rest of your evening.